Welcome, guys, to the Christian Podcast 101, and I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode, or the episode that we did. But in this episode is also powerful as well, is depression. Depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidal thoughts. It's things that our generation go through, and it's something that we need to talk about because we can't keep it inside of us. And I've got lovely guests who I believe that they've gone through it and they've overcome it by the blood of the Lamb. So yeah, alright, cool. Alright, so yeah, let's introduce the guest.
Hi guys, my name is Bells. I'm at Gifted Bells on YouTube and Instagram and everything.
Come on.
Welcome.
We're gonna clap for everyone.
I'm Edwin.
Long time, bro.
Yeah, bro. It's been a while.
It's good to have you back, bro.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate you bringing me on. It's great to be here.
Princess. I do letters from God on Insta and Snapchat.
Yeah.
Snapchat and
Snapchat,
Instagram.
yeah, Instagram. But yeah, cool. Let's start then. So the first question I want to ask you here is that who wants to define the word depression? You're a poet, aren't you?
I can't define
You
it.
can't define what depression is. Well, okay, what's depression in your own terms?
Hatred.
Okay.
I would say it's feeling like you're fighting things that no one can see or hear and hating yourself because you can't deal with it. You can't fix anything. That's what I'd say.
Okay. Edwin?
I think depression is a sticky one, you know. It's that overall feeling of sadness and just being downcast, feeling like feeling so down, you know, that melancholic feeling that you have, you get me? So it's like nothing interests you, and the things that you enjoy doing, you don't enjoy doing them anymore. You feel like you want to be dissociated from society and just be on your own, innit? So that kind of feeling, I think depression is kind of like an illness, you get me? So when you get into that mental state, it's a mental condition. So when you get into that mental state, then that can be termed as depression, innit?
Princess?
Yeah.
All of them said that. Cool. So
Yeah.
let's move on to the next question. So the next question I want to ask you is that what creates depression, or why do people go through depression? So maybe you can say what creates depression, or why do people go through depression? So 2 questions in one.
I don't know. I feel like it can be so many things.
Okay, speak from your own term.
What created depression for me? I think it started off in school. However, I think I wasn't always an emotional girl. I didn't know how to handle my emotions. And I think I had like my first, let's say, suicidal thought at like year 7. So, yeah, I just didn't want to be around because I felt like I didn't have people, even though I had people. So, yeah, so it can be anything like background, family, friends, yourself, like when you look at yourself in the mirror, anything. That's how like I took it in anyways. And just surrounding myself with people that I shouldn't have been around.
Okay.
Edwin?
There are so many factors, bro, honestly, because I know a couple people and I've had certain experiences myself. So I found out that depression could come from maybe losing a loved one. Yeah. I found out that depression also comes from certain people that give birth, and after birth they go through that stage of depression. Depression can come about as a result of maybe losing your partner or someone you're talking to, and you all decide to break up, and you can get depressed as a result of that.
That's true.
And also, like, bro, if you don't have money, bro, it brings bro, honestly, like, let's just think. I know I've been there, bro, and I know a couple people. Like, if you're broke, bro, it's depressive, bro. It's depressing, like. So I feel like, those are some of the factors. So losing a loved one as well. When some people go through that state where they unfortunately lose people that are closest to them, a parent, a brother, a sister, a friend, a best friend. It could be even a celebrity, you get me? So it
could be anything.
It could be anything, bro. It could be anything. So that's why I think there are so many factors of depression.
They keep saying
They keep saying everything. Alright, cool.
There should be more.
Alright, cool. So then let's talk about. Let's move on to I think. So alright, cool. In terms of you guys, have you guys been have you guys been through depression before?
Yeah.
Oh,
And what
for
caused it?
sure.
Yeah.
For
who
sure.
wants to
Princess
yeah,
start.
Princess. Yeah, you
Go
start
first.
still.
Well, I'm not gonna go too deep on why.
Yeah.
But I think what caused me to go more deeper into depression is for me telling myself that I could deal with it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I didn't want to involve people
Mm-hmm.
in it. I believe that it was my fault. I believe I put myself in the situation to get to the point where I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to involve people. I was a bit scared of what they would say. I was scared of how they would try and deal with it. So yeah.
Okay.
That's just me.
With me, how it came about was, as a young child, like Belle, I think I've been an emotional kid.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, bro. So it's like I felt feelings of abandonment, like the people that were closest to me, it's like they weren't close enough. You get me? I don't know if anyone can relate, but it's like you have so much people around you, and yet you're feeling so alone, and it's like no one can understand you, and you're a child, so it's like you're not even mature yet. So it's like you don't even understand the feeling that you're going through. And you might even go through moments where you think it's normal. And if you don't take it, it might become normal. So with me, it was feeling of abandonment. And also like my mom traveled, innit? Like she came here and I was back home. So it's like,
In Ghana.
yeah, there wasn't so contact, you get me? There wasn't so much communication like it was supposed to be. Although my grandma raised me up, I still felt that kind of feeling of being alone.
Okay.
You get me? Because I needed that parental love and parental guidance, which I didn't get, and I feel like those around me weren't really noticing until maybe later or something like that. So it was feeling of abandonment there for me. That was the prime factor that caused me to go into that depressive state. Yeah.
So wait, sorry. So would you say that the reason why you went through it is because of a lack of communication between maybe your parents and you, in terms of like them not checking up on you? Would you say that played some parts to it, or
it's kind of like a characteristic of it. It wasn't really, communication wasn't really the main problem. I wouldn't say like that was the sole problem, but it has some, I don't know how to say, like it's related to that.
Okay, it's placed a part.
It's related to that, but I wouldn't say communication was the problem, because yeah, she checked up on me and all of that, but it's like when you're with someone and when you're alone and you're speaking on the phone with someone, it's not the same.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
actually
It's
there
never
to
the
do
same.
that,
You can just lie on the
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And how I can speak, like the conversation I can have with you when I'm with you right now, face to face, is not the same as like speaking to you on the phone, because it's like when you're with me, you know what I'm doing physically right now. You get me? But when you're on the phone, it's like it's a bit abstract. I don't know, like
I get what you mean.
especially at that time where there wasn't really video calls and all of that. You get me?
Yeah.
So it's not the same. So it played a part. It was a factor, but I wouldn't say it was the sole cause.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. But also,
yeah, I feel like depression with me, I don't know, because obviously from your experience, I had love at home, I guess, but I felt like I was carrying everyone's problems. Like I would make their problems my problems.
oh, okay.
So I would just dwell in that, and then school, and I think the big top off for me was a relationship that just broke me. But I think overall, I was so comfortable in being sad. Like if I wasn't sad, I'm not normal. I have to be sad to feel
Normal.
good. Like that was my sadness was my happiness. Like I just had to have a problem. Like not in like a petty way, but I just wake up like and just need to be sad today, or I'm just not okay. Like I don't know what it was. Like I don't know. I just felt okay when I was really sad. Like if I had problems, it was normal. Now I can't deal with problems.
Yeah,
like I just
yeah.
know. Like do you get it? But back then, sadness was my comfort zone. So that's how I got so deep into this depression thing, because it kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
Like you said, Princess said something about how she didn't like people knowing. It's not even like I didn't like people knowing. I wanted help, but I wanted it to a certain extent. Like, for example,
they can help you to an extent.
yeah,
limit,
my school knew, but I wouldn't want them to tell my mom. I wouldn't want them to call social services, or I wouldn't want them to do this. I want you to talk to me, but don't do the most. So it was like, what can you really do with this one? There's not much. It was just a continuous cycle of, we're talking, and then I'm in isolation, and then I'm crying. Like, it was the same old, but nothing was changing until lockdown.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do. It was either
lockdown
you
was
face your
was
front,
massive.
you
It was
face
brutal,
God, or
bro.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's with me.
Okay, wow, that's powerful. Still, okay, cool. Let's move on to the next question. So, how did you guys handle like your depression? What did you do? Like, what steps did you take to overcome those challenges or those depression? Who wants to start off?
Princess, do you want to go first again?
Let someone go
All right,
first.
cool. Ed, you go first. Then.
I owe it all to God,
Oh, okay.
Jesus Christ. Me growing up, what happened was, I got closer to the church,
Okay.
and I got closer to, I put myself over, like into church activities, and I started doing stuff. So, what I learned from doing that was this: you have to be active. The thing is, one thing I've noticed about depression is it keeps you inactive. You don't want to do anything. You just
Yeah.
want to wallow in your sadness, and you just want to dwell in that mental state or in that spirit. It's hard to find something to do. That's why you have to try. So what I did was, like, unknowingly, like, God just drew me to church activities, so Bible reading, all of that. So my mind was always active. My mind was like, I was always doing something. So by the time I realized, I found out that when I'm in front of people and when I'm among people, I'm able to like get out of that state, and I'm able to be my actual self. You get me? So one thing we can take out of that is, it's hard because sometimes you can be among a multitude and you still feel alone. But I feel like if God is inside that equation, like, he's gonna take you out of that state, and he's gonna make you become who he wants you to be, and he's gonna give you the happiness and that inner joy that you seek. Yeah.
Bells?
I feel like I dealt with depression through God, obviously. But obviously I grew up as a Christian. However, I didn't believe, like, I was a Christian because my mum was a Christian.
You didn't put it to practice, basically.
Nah, I didn't. Like, I would pray when I'm angry, or pray when things go wrong. But I would like sin on a Saturday, go to church on a Sunday. That's how my life was. So then lockdown happened. I had nothing to do but to go to God. Like, I deeped the situation. I deeped how my life was. And I told myself, you either die or you go to God. There's no in between, because you can't go outside. So what are you going to do? And my friend even told me, like, cool, you're having this heartbreak or whatever and all these feelings. Try God. And I looked around. I started deeping, like, everyone's actually tried God but you. You might as well see. And if it doesn't work, then you know within yourself that God's not real, innit? And do that. So I was dealing with the whole prayer stuff, praying. I didn't even have to fast. I didn't have to do a lot. I literally just prayed and did Bible plans. That's all I did. And then one day, I just didn't feel it anymore. I didn't feel sad, didn't feel depressed, didn't want to kill myself anymore. So that's how I dealt with it. Like, even though I was dealing with depression and suicide and a heartbreak, I told myself, I'm going to have to just focus on the depression and suicide first, because I need to deal with that before the heartbreak. If I can't do that, I'm going to die with the heartbreak pain anyways. So I might as well fix that, fix what's in my head mentally, deal with the other stuff afterwards. Yeah.
Just to add on as well, I remember I was watching a series by Mac Todd. He said that one person must have messaged him here, and then they were doing like a fasting series, and she was like, she did a fasting for 3 days, and then she said that when she fasted, she deleted social media, Instagram, all the social media platforms, and she spent time with God, and she said that when she fasted for 3 days, she said that she felt like that depression has been lifted off her. So I believe that the Bible says that where the presence of the Lord is, there's fullness of joy. So I believe that as you indulge yourself, indulge yourself with the word of God, and through prayer and through fasting, I believe that Christ will come and lift out that depression.
Yeah.
Because depression is actually a very difficult thing to handle by yourself. But when you allow Christ to come in and take control, then it's able to, the pieces that has been broken, it's able to turn that to masterpieces.
Yeah.
You spitting, bro.
So how did you handle depression? How did you do depression?
For me, it was a bit of a different approach. I thought, with how I got depressed,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, how could God let this happen?
Okay.
So I was kind of in a position where I didn't want to involve God.
Okay.
I loved
Wow.
God, but it was like, you could have
you
helped
could've
me.
stepped in, but you
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. So, I resulted in having therapists or psychiatrists. I don't know. What
Yes.
they're called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shrink, yeah.
So what,
And
like
they-
therapy sessions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I still have them now.
Okay.
Had one on Tuesday, and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But as a Christian, like they can help. They actually do help. Talking to someone who doesn't know you personally, and all you're doing is talking about that. They don't judge you. You feel safe to talk about.
Okay.
I literally talk to my therapist about everything. I don't know how she feels about it, but she knows everything.
Yeah.
And I feel able to open up and
Okay.
tell her, and she's able to talk to me in a professional point of view, because you can't talk to everyone about mental health.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
come with culture background and be like, yeah, well.
Yeah, it
it's
runs in the
not-
family all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah.
or like
Or-
it's in the society. Yeah.
That's actually true, you know.
Or
Like-
being like I told my mom as well, like I feel like I'm depressed. She told me Christians can't be
Yeah,
depressed.
like
That's
God
what
take
she
care of
gave
it.
me.
Yeah, like
That's what
African
she gave
parents.
me.
I'm going to African, like educate African parents on like depression
Literally,
and
like-
Yeah,
mental health.
yeah.
Like, because I feel like once you get that the person can't enter a Christian family, but I feel like as
It happens to everyone.
Yeah, it happens to everyone.
It could happen to the
I feel
best
like
of all of
with
us.
my mom, like it took her time to understand that okay, like she's actually not joking. Like,
Mm.
this
Yeah.
is severe. Because at first she was just like no, like what's happened? The demonic
She-
thing is
yeah,
that
she
like
wrote
you
it
just
off,
need to
innit?
pray,
Yeah,
pray,
yeah.
go to church. But then when she could see, so there was a point she was like, "You're not even going uni." Like I was so bad. Then she started deepening. Okay, my child is just different. So I just need to take it slow with her. Then so she's actually quite more understanding now
Okay.
compared
Yeah.
to
Before.
most African parents as well. Like she actually gets it. But yeah, before she just didn't.
Okay.
I think that's the same with like my mom. Like for me, before I became like depressed, I didn't believe in mental health.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought, what are these people talking about? Like, if you're depressed, be happy. But until you're in that situation, you see that it's easier said than done. Every single day I tried to like be happy, but it got to the state where I couldn't even fight my mind. But anyways, going back to the question, yes, I was using psychiatrists and stuff. But as a Christian, God was always in my mind.
Okay.
And even though the psychiatrists have helped me, no one helped me as much as God did.
Yeah.
It got to a point where, like, during lockdown, it was either be bored throughout, how long was we in there?
Like a year or something.
Like be bored for a year or do something. I chose to be with God. And throughout that time, I kid you not, like, I was praying, I was fasting. And I was asking God, I said, God, I don't want to be depressed anymore. Because I did have suicidal thoughts. And, the Bible does say, anyone that kills themselves and stuff, you go directly to hell.
Yeah.
The life is not yours
It's
to take.
God's.
Yeah.
So I was like, God, I can't live like this anymore. And I was crying. And I promise you, it felt like Jesus came down and hugged me. And I was like, since that day, I've been okay. I've been so much
Really?
better than where I was and where I started off. But yeah, I feel like if people are taking, I think it's good to use both. Take the, therapist route, but don't ever forget God.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
you can't
one-
depend on it.
You can't really depend on, because most my psychiatrists, they're not religious. So if I was to talk to them about God, this is how I am as a Christian, they won't get it.
Yeah.
They don't see the spiritual side of how depression can affect you spiritually.
Yeah.
So you always, even if you're using a psychiatrist, don't forget God. That's who you need the most. That's the person who can help you the most.
I was speaking to a friend and I was like to him, I think I might need counselling. He was like, you can go do the counselling. However, the counselling's not God. The counselling can help you, but God is the one that takes away the problem. Do you get it? So I feel like even therapy or whatever, we shouldn't depend on it because it's not God. Like it will help you, but not for the long run, because eventually you can be doing the counselling every single day and you might not see a change.
Yeah.
I feel like you've got to put it into practice, as in prayer and stuff like that. And that's when, you can change.
I mean, it's the same as addiction, People can go to rehabilitation centers, innit? And they come back and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, like you're saying, like you have to include God in it because ultimately He's the one that's going to take that thing away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because people go to therapy and they don't get better. Yeah, so that's what I have to say.
Let me add on something as well. Me personally, sometimes when I feel down and I feel like downcast, what I usually do is I listen to gospel music, and gospel music usually uplifts my spirit. Sometimes you feel down and out, but as soon as you begin to listen to gospel music, it brings God's presence into that situation. You know what I'm trying to say? So me personally, that's why I only just listen to gospel music. I don't listen to any secular music. Only gospel music. Yeah, I don't listen to any secular music. Just gospel music. I hope we hear it. Like maybe through like probably car, when people are playing it. But I never go out and search and like listen to it.
That's
like,
valid.
I've carved like Afrobeats, all of that. Only just gospel music. And I feel like that's helped my relationship with God, and it's helped me grow spiritually in Christ. You know what I'm trying to say? So maybe gospel music is something that you need to engulf yourself in. And once you engulf yourself with gospel music, you begin to feel God's presence. There's also a story in the Bible, when the Bible says that Saul was had a tormented spirit. If you translate that word tormented, I don't know if it's the Greek or Hebrew. It also translates theological. People who are theologians has translated the depression. Has translated the tormented spirit to depression. So we can see that when you read the Bible, the Bible also says that every time the tormented spirit will enter into Saul, his mood will be down. So we can see that when sometimes we're depressed, our mood just feels down. It's like we don't want to do anything. But as soon as David played the harp or the lyre, that represents gospel music. As soon as he began to play the gospel music, the Bible says that spirit of torment was lifted up.
The spirit left him.
The spirit left him. So we can see that gospel music does change. It does transform people. It
makes you free.
Makes you free. And also Paul and Silas as well in the Bible. They were praying, fasting, and the prisons began to become open. It does a lot.
Singing songs of hymns as well. So there's power in music as well. So you have to tune your ears to what you listen to because it can affect your spirit. I feel like music and your spirit, there can be connections between music and your spirit. And
I feel like we need to be like vigilant as well, as in like a lot of people don't remember their dreams, and I feel like that plays a big part because I personally, even though I was, confused, depressed, whatnot, I still felt like I didn't understand what I was doing in this life. And it wasn't until January, February, I physically heard God's voice. And that's when I was like, cool, I know what I need to be doing now. So anytime I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just understand that, you know what? God spoke to me. He told me to go to Hebrews chapter 12. He told me what to do.
Wait, sorry, was it through your thoughts?
No, it was a dream.
It was a dream.
So I was, when you're about to sleep, you're about to sleep, so you're like drifting off and your eyes are slowly closing. So I think I was in that state. And I kid you not, the dream felt like I was there for maybe 5 hours, but it was so quick. And then I heard a voice in the dream and it said, just go to Hebrews 12 because he could tell the person that I was with. I didn't know it was Jesus at the time. So when I was speaking to Jesus, I was thinking like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Then he was like fed up a bit and he was like, just go to Hebrews chapter 12. So I woke up, I was so scared. I was thinking, what was that?
What was going on?
I was like, what was that? So I woke up straight away. I went to Hebrews chapter 12. I read it and I was like, is that it? Like I was so upset because I didn't understand anything. I was like, nah, like God is actually playing with me right now. Like, what do you mean go to Hebrews chapter 12? I don't understand. Then I started asking a lot of people, can you explain Hebrews chapter 12? No one was like, I wasn't getting it until one day. When I told you I had a panic attack, it was the day I had a panic attack and everything. And I finally understood Hebrews chapter 12. And there's a verse, verse 11 to 12. And it basically talks about how no discipline in this world is enjoyable. It's painful. So God's basically telling me like, I know that you're painful right now. I know that you're hurting, but you need to charge into the game. He's basically saying like, charge into the game, understand that it's painful, but it's going to get better. Eventually you're going to get peace. And I just said to myself, cool, I need to do this. I'll get peace eventually. And
Wow, that's powerful.
Glory to God.
Princess?
Well, I don't know. It was kind of to what Edwin was saying. With music, I think Satan was when he was in heaven. He was the angel of music. He was the leader.
He was like a choir director.
He was the leader of that. music is his easiest way.
That was what he was created to do.
Yeah,
his turn.
That's his easiest.
I didn't even know that,
That's his easiest way of leading people away through music. That's why I went through that stage where I was only listening to gospel, and then slowly started just now. I avoid songs that have certain things like sex or swear words. I know because that's not good for my spirit. So songs that avoid that, I will not. But music is much deeper than that. Even the instrumental itself could be based on a bad spiritual thing. That's why Christians do say put yourself in the presence of God at all times, whether that's through music, people, gospel music is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Also, just to add on as well, is that your heart is your subconscious mind. So in other words, whatever you feed in is what you're going to become. That's what the Bible says, that as a man thinks in his heart, it's so easy. In other words, if you keep feeding out like worldly music here, then you're going to become worldly yourself. Yeah. It's like you can't expect to sow an apple and get an orange. Whatever you sow is what you're going to reap. So if you're sowing worldly things in your life, you expect to have worldly things back. You get what I'm trying to say? So that's why I say that just engulf yourself with gospel music and just pray and reading the word.
But with that, like in the Bible, doesn't it also say how like the heart is deceitful and stuff? So I feel like a lot of us, we depend on our heart too much, and when we need to be focusing more on our mind, because through that God can speak to us through that. Do you understand? Like we feel different things every day. I could be sad today, tomorrow I'm happy, and if I continue to just dwell on my heart and my feelings, I'll be a mess. I'll be a wreck. So I feel like with your point, as much as you're talking about like your heart and whatnot, also focus on the mind, because that's where God can actually, speak to you as well. So yeah.
Your heart, sorry, let me just add on, your heart is your subconscious mind. So your subconscious mind is the things that you keep storing in.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says, that where comes murder, sexual mortality, it says evil thoughts. It says that it comes from an abundance of the heart. So your heart is your subconscious mind, and then you have a conscious mind, which is just your mind. So I feel like when you put things into your mind, and the more you keep doing it, the more that it dumps into your spirit, your heart. So your heart. So that's why I feel like you need to be careful what you put into your heart, which is the things that you keep doing or keep listening to, or keep reading. But so let's move on to the next question. So what about suicidal thoughts? Why is there a lot of things? Why is there such a high rate of suicidal thoughts? Or what makes someone want to commit suicide? What makes people want to commit suicide?
Wait, let me go first. I think I think it has to do with self-esteem sometimes. I'm gonna branch to that topic as well.
Okay.
How we see ourselves as people.
Yeah.
Some of us unfortunately have that demerit. We don't see ourselves as how God sees us. We see ourselves as how the world wants us to be and how the world is projecting us to be. You get me? But you have to see yourself as fearfully and wonderfully made. Like if you could come out of your body and see who you are, I think you'd be proud of yourself, regardless of what you've been through or the mistakes you've made.
Okay. Yeah.
So see yourself as that person who's cherished by God. See yourself as that person who's like, you were literally a slave and he has made you royalty. So see yourself as a king, see yourself as a queen. I think the world is delusional. It dilutes our mind, it poisons our mind, and it forms a mental image of who we are supposed to be and shows it to us. And unfortunately, most of the time we accept it, and we think that is the standard, or that is the way that we should see ourselves as. But we need to go back and read the Bible and use the Bible as a mirror and look into the Bible. And I think the Bible would reflect who we truly are to us. You get me? So suicidal thoughts can come from that as well. Low self-esteem. So go back to the Bible, read the Bible, and use the Bible as a mirror, and let it show you who you are. Yeah.
I felt like my suicidal thoughts came from just being overwhelmed. Like if there was a problem or situation that I couldn't handle, I'd be like, you know what? Like, what could you actually do in this scenario? And the first voice that would be in my head would be like, you can just kill yourself and you won't have to feel the pain, or you won't have to go through the problem. And it was just like, you know what? You're right. Well, no, the devil's not right. The devil's not right. But it's like at the time I was like, you know what? You're right. Because I won't have to think. I won't have to do all these things. That I'll just be at peace. I thought being dead was at peace. Then, well, the way I was looking at it.
Yeah.
So that's how my suicidal thoughts came, and then just hating myself. I had no identity whatsoever because I was just so lost, and I always identified myself with someone else. When I was alone, it was like, okay, so who are you? Who are you? And it took a lot down.
So wait, so that person that you're with gave you some sort of significance?
Yeah, okay. Like the person that I was with, he made me feel
valuable.
Like, yeah, to an extent. Like people would even ask me questions like, how's your relationship with God going? I'll talk about our relationship with God. But it's not an our thing. It's a your thing. Do you get it? Yeah. So it was like just me and the person, me and the person. So when I was just alone, it was like, what do you even like doing? Guys, I had no hobbies. Like, yes, I'm a poet, and that's literally all I had. I had nothing. Wow. So then I started to discover myself. Like I tried baking, didn't like it. I tried bare things. Then I found YouTube and just talking about God and doing stuff like that. It made me understand that you're worthy. Like I couldn't look at myself at the mirror, guys. To a point where I'll turn mirrors around when I'm sleeping. I could not. I thought I was so ugly. Like I thought I was just so ugly. I don't understand why. But yeah, so figuring out your identity, it helped me understand that no, I'm not worth dying. Do you know who I am? Like, do you know
exactly.
you have to? Sometimes you have to speak to the devil and tell him you don't rule me. You don't understand that. You think you can just do X, Y, Z, say what? No, put stuff in my mind. You don't rule me. You're not my master. So. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are afraid of that. So when I told him to literally leave me alone, I feel like he got a bit scared, left me alone, and that's it.
You had your freedom.
Yeah.
Glory to God.
Yeah.
I love hearing stuff like that.
Every time I listen to the story, it's actually very inspirational.
It's really inspiring, honestly. Like it's really. No, you have to speak into existence.
Yeah.
You know?
You
have to physically say you don't own me.
He's scared
God
of
does.
us. That's the thing. He's scared.
Yeah.
Like, he's scared. So when you put your foot down and just tell him that you're no one,
We already
he will
have
just
an
become
advantage 'cause
small.
we get to go to heaven.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's why
Literally.
he doesn't like us.
Yeah.
But
We know we're
yeah,
gonna live right.
identity and all that stuff. I feel like that's what brought me to just being so suicidal and just hating myself. I hated myself because I hated the situation I was in, and I thought it was all my fault. I had a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
So all of that wrapped up was just the suicidal stuff for me.
Yeah, Princess?
Well, I only had suicidal thoughts once.
Okay.
I think some people are very unlucky because they get a lot and then they give in and they do it.
Oh, okay.
So they end up really killing themselves. And for me, I was thinking about because I spent like a year and a half in hospital straight before I was really ill. So I knew stuff about the veins, the arteries. I knew exactly. I wanted to pick up like something sharp and literally cut.
Were you in hospital because you're mentally ill or just other stuff?
Just something else, like my health condition. So I knew exactly what could do the most damage, and I was willing to go for it. It was just straight after I finished thinking like that, and I was about to like start thinking, okay, what object should I get? My sister comes in, she's like, oh yeah, we need to go to youth now. It's church. Okay. So I'm not saying going to church, there was nothing special about that, but I saw it as God came in. God said, you're not going to do this.
No.
So it was time for me to go to church. At church, I sat down in silence. I didn't say nothing. You know, I was still very depressed. I was at my lowest. But it was the fact that I went to church that said, and it kind of felt like God sent my sister to come and be like, let's go. Because I already said to her, I'm not going to go. So she came and said, okay, yeah, it's time to go. We need to go now. I saw it as God stepping in and being like, this is not it. I mean, for me as well, before I had suicidal thought, it was kind of a thing where I was in pain, but I was like, I can't do it because how's my mum going to react?
That's how I felt.
How is my sister going to react? And then when I got the suicidal thoughts, it was like, why am I living in pain for them? They're okay, but I'm not. So I was like, why am I doing it? They'll be fine. You see how people move on. Over a couple months, it'll be fine. Yeah. Princess who? Do you get? So I was like, they're going to go for it. But from what I'm feeling right now, I can't do it. I can't do it for them.
Yeah.
So it became from like a selfless to a selfish act. But yeah, I just thank God it didn't happen. I thank God he intervened when he did, because...
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. Wow, it's fine. Nah, you see stories that are very inspirational, you know. You see stories.
It's
very
it is,
inspirational. I'm just saying this is deep in it. I'm actually saying deep in it. Cool. Let's move on to our last question. You guys have already said anything. Okay, cool. So speak about, have you guys ever felt alone before? Have you guys ever felt alone?
Definitely. Like you said in the beginning, you're in a room full of people, but you feel like you're the only person there.
Yeah.
People don't see. I felt like I wasn't being seen. I'm not even trying to be like a bit, you know, but I was one of the populous girls in my school. People, all eyes on me. People knew me who I was. I was, you know, top of the rank at school. I'm not trying to like put myself up there. People knew, like, I had a very good social
interaction.
Status and stuff. So people know who knew who I was. On my Snapchat, I had loads of views. People, I was surrounded by people, but
you're still
I was still so lonely.
Yeah.
I had loads of friends. I had loads of friendship groups at school, but I did not feel like I fit in. I didn't feel happy. I was even for like I said, you're around people, but you're lonely. You don't feel like you belong. So yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Oh.
Do you want to speak? Yeah.
No, you can go.
No, you speak. It's fine.
It's okay. I feel like with me, I just felt alone all the time because I felt like no one was understanding what I was going through in my mind. And it's like people could compliment me and I'd be like, you're lying. And because my skin at the time was so horrid, oh my goodness, I was just like, no, you guys are lying. So it ate me alive. And then the lockdown, obviously, you had to be alone, even though like family and whatnot. It was just the worst. Plus, I was just comparing myself. So that was just eating up my spirit, eating me up to the point where I felt empty. So with that emptiness, it was just like loneliness in itself. I don't know when else I felt alone. Just when I just feel like I can't speak to someone about how I feel lonely. Don't get me wrong, like I'm human, so sometimes it can come and go. Or when I don't know who to go to about a situation, I feel a bit lonely. But then I remind myself, like, at the end of the day, you've got God, and even when no one's available to talk, you've got God, you've got prayer, you've got notebooks, you can write in whatever and do that. So loneliness wasn't even like the top of my list. It wasn't really a big problem to me because I already had stuff like depression and suicide that brought me to feeling so low. Anyway, so yeah, loneliness wasn't a huge factor in my life.
Well, they've basically said everything. Like most of us, if not all of us, have been through some sort of loneliness in our lives. Where we feel abandoned, like left behind. We feel like we are not getting the attention that we need, and we feel like it's hurting us deeply, and it's getting to us, and it's like we have no one to speak to. You get me? We feel like we're not receiving the love that we deserve. We feel like we're not receiving the care and the affection that we need. You get me? So most of us, I think it's all of us, everyone has felt some sort of loneliness like once or twice or many times in their lives. So
let me add on one thing. I think to also add on is that that's when you have to when you're alone, you need to position yourself for Christ. That's what I believe, that you can be in a full of crowd and still feel alone. Loneliness has no boundaries. You can be on a top of success, you still feel alone. Why? Because loneliness, I feel like as a Christian, when you become alone, at least you're alone with Christ. But when you're in a world, when you're alone, you're only alone with yourself.
On your own.
You know what I'm trying to say?
On your own,
so it's like when you have Christ, so that's what the Bible says, that He will never leave you or forsake you. So when you're intimate, or when you have a relationship with Christ, He's always with you. He's always by your side. But if you don't have Christ, you're always gonna feel that sense of abandonment. But as a Christian, if you're a Christian, you still feel like a sense of abandonment. Why? Because Christ will never leave you nor forsake you. He's always there with you, even through your problems, even through your situation. He's there. He was the one who was carrying you through it. Like even though sometimes you can't see, you're like, "Where's God?" He's in the midst of your problem. You know what I'm trying to say? But
let me add this last thing quickly. If you didn't hear nothing, what
you know what? It's the pastor. You know what the pastor was saying?
I'll leave you with that. This one gift. One of my favorite quotations in the Bible. Like, it gave me so much perspective. It says, I think it's Psalm 34 verse 18. It says, "The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart, and saves those who have a contrite spirit." So you might think that you're alone, but you are with God, and God is with you. It might be a hole, it might be a tunnel, but trust me, He is there. He is nearer to them that have lost people. He's near to them that have been in depressive states. Like, He's near to them that are like at the bottom, and they are slowly like wasting away. He's ever near. He gets nearer when you are farther. You get me? He gets nearer when you are at that point where like there's nowhere to go anywhere because you've hit rock bottom. You get me? He's there. You get me? So you have to put that in mind. You have to remember that He's near.
Adding to that, like you said, when you're getting further away, He's getting closer. So it takes you to be like, God help, and He'll come. Because He's always behind you. He's just waiting for you to say, God. The thing with us as Christians, we do not humble ourselves. I said this as well, like before. We blame God, we do this, we do that. And we don't really turn to God when it comes hard. Until it gets to the worst stage, we don't really do it. For me as well, during that stage, people telling me, turn to God, that would make me so angry when people would mention God.
Really?
But I couldn't. I couldn't. When people would be like, "Oh, just read this Bible," I couldn't do it. I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I loved God, and I was telling myself I loved God, but it was that pride I had. It was like, he didn't help me, so
yeah.
So it took me saying, God, I need help. And even with me, the way I was like avoiding God, he still came. And Jesus is your best friend, honestly. Like everyone said as well, when you have close friends, it almost feels like you're not as close. And before it used to bother me, but now it doesn't, because Jesus is my best friend.
Yeah.
There's no one loves you more than Jesus. Anyone can do you wrong in this world. It could even be your family members, your best friend from young. Jesus, he wouldn't even. You hurt him, but he would never hurt you back.
Yeah.
Jesus loves you so much.
I feel like overall, like, just fight the good fight. Do you get it? At the end of the day, like, we fight things spiritually anyways. So whether you're depressed or like lonely or heartbroken or whatnot, just remember that it gets better. If I can go through it and these guys can push through or whatever, what makes you think you're less of a person to, you know, not be able to push past? But the only thing I can say is that God needs to meet you halfway. Do you get it? He needs to see you try. He can't pick you up if you're not willing to pick yourself up. And that's what we all had to do. Like, you've got to give in. You've got to charge into the game. Sometimes you've got to be by yourself to actually find God. Do you get it? You have to go through that loneliness stage. I feel like I had to be lonely. I had to be depressed. I had to be suicidal to be who I am today. So fight the good fight. And
Wow, I think they've said it all.
Thank
you guys for tuning to the Christian Podcast 101. Hope you enjoyed this topic here, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.